How often have you heard a story that you thought, that's really well delivered, it's incredibly polished, and yet if I asked you the next day what you heard, you might struggle to remember. And yet some stories that are not polished at all, well, they stick with you sometimes forever. And to understand why that might be, I have a lovely case in point from when I visited Atlanta recently, the home of Martin Luther King, where I heard so many wonderful polished stories about a man that I admire immensely. But not one of them holds a candle to a story I heard on the way to his home from my Uber driver, Melissa. And that's because she told me about her Aunt Sally. We were chatting as we were driving into Atlanta, and I asked her when she was growing up. She had grown up in Buffalo in upper state New York. Had she heard much about the civil rights and what was happening in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Georgia in school? And she said absolutely not. But she knew all about it because she had an Aunt Sally who, when she was just 14, had marched to Selma. And I said, oh my God, what was that like? How on earth was she allowed to march at that age? And she said, well, actually, her mom said, under no circumstances you are to march in that. It's just way too dangerous. But she wore her mom down, as many a teenager would. And she kept saying to her mom, I don't know why, but I just think this is going to be really important. And all of my friends are going to do it with me. We'll be okay. So eventually her mother agreed and she marched. And I said, well, wasn't she scared out of her wits? And she said, of course she was. I mean, they had troopers there with guns and batons, but that wasn't the worst of it. The thing that she will never forget until her dying day was the dogs, the noise, the sound, the snarling of those vicious dogs that were ready to just tear them apart. But she also said that she will also not forget something else. She was surrounded by adults because all the children or the younger kids were put into the middle, and she was taken in that moment by that sense, that extraordinary sense of love. A love so strong she felt, you know what, it doesn't matter what comes at us. We can do this. We can make this happen. This was her we shall overcome moment. Wow. Let me tell you why that story is sticking with me today in maybe ways that other stories don't. Number one, it's fundamentally human. I felt really connected and in the moment as she told me her story of her aunt. Secondly, it was inviting. It was visceral. I could really put myself into the situation that was being described. But the third thing is, it was immensely personal. And if you do those three things, watch what that does to how you connect with an audience and how lasting the memory of that story might be.